Hey y'all, thanks for tuning in to Outdoor and Door Texan. Today I'll be showing y'all my recipe for grilled venison heart. We'll be walking through tips on how I butcher and prepare the cut of meat, how to make an excellent general marinade for it, and finally tips on grilling it correctly. Now for the uninitiated, I may sound like I've lost my mind, but I'm telling you now that this is one of the best cuts of meat you can take from a deer. I'm an avid hunter, and I love being so closely connected to the food I put on my table. Part of being a responsible hunter is trying to utilize the entire animal that you kill. And that's how I found myself cooking heart the first time around. After that first dish, though, I was amazed at how good it was and how many people shy away from messing with it. Grilled venison heart is like eating one of the most tender cuts of steak, and it has zero game flavor. Make sure to check the description below for a detailed list of ingredients and supplies necessary for this cook. Once you've got everything rounded up, let's get to cooking. Let's start by building the marinade. This marinade is an easy to throw together recipe that works really well with venison. And since heart steaks specifically are rather thin, a marinade has a great chance to really penetrate the meat. In a large non-reactive bowl, add 1 teaspoon of kosher salt, 1 tablespoon of Italian seasoning, 1 teaspoon of black pepper, 1 tablespoon of soy sauce or Worcestershire sauce depending on your preference, 1 tablespoon of red wine vinegar, and finally 4 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil. Then mix everything well with a whisk or spoon and set it aside while we cut down the heart into steaks. And there it is, the heart of a deer. If you aren't a hunter and are wondering how to get your hands on one, there's surprisingly quite a few online butchers that'll gladly mail you a heart packed on ice. Just give it a quick Google and you'll be good to go. Now there are a couple different ways people prepare a heart for cooking, but we're going to focus on my preferred method, which will give you 3 similarly sized steaks. Before you get to cutting though, make sure to flush the heart with water, cleaning the internal valves of any leftover blood. First step in prep is to remove the top portion of the heart that consists of arteries, flaps, and visible fat. This fat does not render when cooking, so make sure to cut and peel away as much as you can. Once you've managed to cut away the fat and top portion of the heart, you'll notice that there's essentially 2 rolls of meat. The right has a thinner wall of meat that makes up the exterior of that large chamber, and the left side of the heart is what looks like a thick roll of meat. We're going to work on the thinner piece first. Looking at the outside portion of the heart, follow that natural seam in the muscle with your knife. The meat should cut away, unrolling and turning into steak number 1. As far as trimming pointers go, there will be small string-like tendons and maybe some fat inside. Cut all that away as if you were filleting a fish. With steak number 1 set aside, we're now left with that thick meat roll, which we'll cut in half and start to open up. Like before, trim away tendons and fat you come across, and once it's all cleaned up, simply slice it in half to make steak number 2 and 3. You'll notice that these 2 pieces are significantly thicker than the first one, and make sure to keep that in mind when we get to grilling them later. And just like that, you're a heart butchering expert. Now toss your pieces into the marinade, ensuring they're completely covered, and let them soak anywhere between 1 hour to 2 days. The longer they marinate, the more penetration they get into the meat. I usually leave them overnight, but have had good results with soaks as short as 4 hours if you're in a pinch. Okay, it's now the next day and I've removed my steaks from the marinade. They had a great soak and it looks like the marinade had plenty of time to penetrate the meat. Before we head outside and toss everything on the grill, I'm going to give the steaks a light dusting of seasoning. If you've watched any of my other barbecue videos, you've likely heard me say more than a few good things about musket powder seasoning. Their original black label is, in my opinion, the best seasoning used on wild game meat. It's low on salt, has an excellent blend of flavors, it marries perfectly with venison, red meat, and even game birds. All that being said, we're not using it today. That's because the good folks at Musket Powder sent me their brand new white label, and it was perfect timing to give it a test with this cook. Now, Musket Powder White Label has all the same ingredients of their black label, plus the addictive flavor notes of ranch powder seasoning. It sounds a little crazy, but I can tell you with confidence this stuff is ridiculous. My wife is already a ranch powder nut, so when this arrived in the mail, I knew it would be running out in no time. Sure enough, this seasoning has been sprinkled over just about every dish in the house for the last week, and it is nearly gone. If you're at all interested in any of Musket Powder's fine products, I'll make sure and leave their link in the description below. And as an added bonus, use the code TEXAN10 to save 10% on your next order. With the meat marinated and seasoned, let's head out to the grill. I'm using my big green egg, but just about anything gas or charcoal that can heat up to about 350 degrees Fahrenheit will work fine. These pieces of meat are thin, so cook time will be fairly brief. Make sure to use an instant read thermometer while grilling and take it off the grill once internal temp hits 125 degrees Fahrenheit, absolutely no higher than 130. Venison, especially heart, does not fare well past medium. Do not overcook this meat. Once it hits temp and comes off the grill, you're pretty much done, besides maybe giving it a sprinkle of chopped green onions and some salt to finish. In the meantime though, let's slice into this and give it a taste test. Right off the bat, you can see that perfect medium rare red tone of venison as I slice into it. Taking a bite, the meat is extremely moist and tender, and kid you not, this tastes like a $100 steak. Both the marinade and the musket powder left hints of a very specific flavor notes that round out the palate, but everything matched up really well with nothing being too overpowering. Don't believe me? Fine, it's my video, so I may be a little biased. But to prove my point, I also got my wife in on the tasting. She was squeamish at first, but willing to try it out. And after that first bite, immediately a fan. After turning off the camera, we cleared this plate in record time. Venison heart is so underappreciated, and it's really sad to me because it's one of the best cuts of wild game meat available. For those who have given it a shot, the majority of them do come back to it again and again each season for a reason. I hope this recipe helps convert a few more. That'll do it for this recipe, and thank you all so much for watching. Let me know in the comments below if you have anything to add to the conversation. I always try to be available to my viewers, so don't be shy in leaving a quick question. If you're new to the channel, I hope I've been helpful in sharing my perspective, and please make sure to like this video and subscribe to my channel for more great content to come. Alright y'all, take care.